exactly why are Mercedes so strong this season. We think that this is the reason.
Lotus's ground effects, Red Bull's blown diffuser, Williams' active suspension. All of these engineering masterstrokes providing their teams with an individual advantage over their competitors. In 2014, there seems to be one team, though, with a major edge over the others, Mercedes-Benz, of course. This week, a story broken by Mark Hughes of Motorsport magazine and Sky F1 has uncovered the truth behind their early dominance and shed light on a truly revolutionary piece of F1 science. So what is it? First, we must understand how a turbo works. There are two main components to a turbo, a turbine and an air compressor. These are sat next to one another at the rear of the engine. Why the rear? Well, as the exhaust fumes leave the engine, they power the turbine, in turn powering the compressor. This process generates a great deal of heat, and before the air can be fired into the engine, it must be cooled. This takes place in the car's intercoolers. These are located in the side pods of each car. By the time the air passes through this pipework, it's cool enough to enter the engine and help with combustion, and so increase the horsepower generated. The cycle starts again. Now, Mercedes' engineering feat has come by separating their turbine and compressor. The turbine is still located near the exhaust, but they've moved the compressor, locating that at the front of the engine, connecting it up by running a shaft through its centre. A simple idea, but a very advanced piece of engineering that's generated many benefits. Firstly, the compressor is now cooler, it not being next to the turbine and being nearer the air inlet above the driver's head. So there's less pipework needed for the intercoolers to do their work before the air gets fired into the engine. This has two benefits of its own. It reduces turbo lag, as the air is not travelling through as much pipework. So the engine is already relying less on its ERS unit to eliminate turbo lag, putting it to better use elsewhere. Secondly, therefore, the car's smaller intercoolers can reduce the size of the side pods, giving the car less aerodynamic drag. But the rewards don't stop there. Having moved the very hot compressor to the front of the engine, the rear is now cooler, and the complex gearbox can now safely be housed almost underneath the turbo. This helps with the car's balance. All the major weight is now in a more centralised area, allowing for better change of direction. It also means that the whole engine unit is more compact. If you look at the rear of the Mercedes, you'll see there are two blister-like objects. These are there just to meet the regulations, and this image gives you an indication of just how much thinner the rear of the Mercedes is compared to its competitors. So, one simple idea has cascaded into many others, giving the Mercedes more power, less drag, and a much faster car.
Well, here is the great man. Mark, it's an outstanding exclusive. Just how big do you think this is in the context of 2014? Is this something in the magnitude of double diffusers, active ride height?
I think it's absolutely of the we're talking about 2014's double diffuser, but with the exception that you can't combat it, you can't copy it this year, unlike with a double diffuser. Maybe not quite as big as active ride. That was something in the order of 2 seconds a lap. I don't think it's quite that, but it's certainly a major technical advantage that they've engineered themselves in for the rest of this season, yeah.
And this is the difference between them and the rest of the moment.
I think so, and the way they've been able to package the car around it and the head start they've given themselves, and it was their concept, it was the chassis team's concept to ask this of the engine people, and they delivered it, so they've had a big head start, yeah.
And then it compounds up like a snowball, because the car works well, it's got good grip, the drivers have confidence. The tyre degradation, as we saw in Malaysia last weekend when the tyres were going away, 0.2 of a second per lap. If your car's handling better, you don't hurt your tyres so much. You can maintain good momentum through the corners, so you don't need to keep pumping fuel in to re-accelerate the 692 kilograms. And it just goes on and on and on. And it looks as if the Mercedes-Benz is about 1.5% faster than any other car out there at the moment. And most laps are around 100 seconds, so it's not difficult to work out. It's 1 to 1.5 seconds a lap faster.
A few people at home might be asking, okay, so the works team have got it, why haven't the customers? Is that simply down to do with the timings of the contracts with the engines?
The customers have got it. It's exactly the same engine they've got. The distinction is, the difference is that they find out about the detail of the engine when they sign the contract. So for Williams, I think it was May of last year. For Force India and McLaren, I think it was a little bit before that. But basically after you've already laid the hard points down for the long lead items of your car, and you don't have as much time to think about how to conceive the car around that feature, because the works team had requested that in the first place. It was their idea, so they've given themselves 3 years to do that. Whereas for the others, it's presented as a little bit of a surprise. So no, it's not optimized in the same way, but they will still be getting an advantage from the system. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that and Mercedes-Benz